Whoa! Welcome back to the studio, Ryan, A.K.A BloodShot Airbrushing. And before you say, Ryan, you sound like garbage, you should probably be in bed. I know, but bills gotta get paid. No rest for the wicked. That's what I always say. So, you say it, you gotta live by it. And today we are going to start off on a brand new project tutorial. You probably caught wind of it in the last update / sticker giveaway video. If not, well, here we are. We're going to take a Simpson helmet and we are going to turn it into Boba Fett. Thereabouts. We have some limitations because we're not painting the visor on this one. If we were going to paint the visor, we could definitely get a little closer, but we got that big area we got to leave open. So, a variation of the Boba Fett helmet. And again, we don't have the little antenna sticking out the top of our helmet, so we're going to paint a variation, a facsimile, a replica-ish. And I think that's enough of me giving my little intro. I think we should just probably get right into it. I'm sick. I'm gonna go blow my nose and then we'll get into it. Alright, so this is what we've got to work with, and this is sort of our reference point. So again, as I was saying, we have a few challenges that we have to kind of overcome here, but I'm not too concerned. I did a quick drawing up for the customer, and he was pretty happy with what we came up with real quick like, so I think we're just going to make it happen. I pulled some reference offline. This is a replica helmet that they make. Everything, even from a toy version, where you can see they've actually already opened up the visor more than the standard movie model, and it kind of simplifies and shows a little bit what's going on without getting into the crazy damage detail that we got going on with this guy. And we're going to play with a lot of that. We're going to get a lot of that on there, the weathering and the damage and the scratches. So that's something that you guys have been asking for. We're going to make it happen. That's kind of this little project in a nutshell. Handy. They got this little schematic so I can actually play off this for some of the details. And what we're actually going to end up doing is bringing this antenna part as if it were resting right on top of the helmet right there. So we're just going to kind of bring that down to there and paint it all 3D like and make sure it looks good from at least one or two angles when you're playing with curved surfaces. That's what you got to work with. For the start of this project, we're going to mask off this helmet because it's going to be a lot of drawing. Well, first, actually, this helmet has to go to the body shop. Greasy little paw prints all over the visor. And it has to go base green. This is actually for the Warhawk owner. If you saw that bike, then this green is going to be very recognizable when it comes back. But we will have to mask it. We will have to do some drawing. We have to do some erasing. I really like the mechanical pencils. For this one, I got a 0.7 lead because it's a little thicker and it's easier for drawing right on top of the masking tape, right on top of the helmet. Once we start spraying, we're going to be using a variation of auto air colors and FW inks and some other heres and theres, but all water-based paints, water-based acrylics. We've got the Q-tips in case we have any hiccups. We've got paintbrushes for mixing, paintbrushes for details, other little cleaners, my Fantastik solution, my thinning / cleaning solution, and of course we've got the compressor hooked up with the Iwata HPC and the Iwata HPB, and we'll probably be back and forthing a couple of these brushes in the hopes of getting this banged out relatively quickly. Alright. set you up for a better view. Now, before we can do any artwork on this, this needs to be stripped down, needs to be sent to the body shop, and then come back to me, base green, so that we can do some artwork. That was easy. You might think that was some fancy editing. I just happen to have to. But with that being said, we are going to do a video on the breakdown on one of these helmets to get it ready for artwork. So stay tuned for that. For this one, we got a long ways to go, so we're just going to get right on into it. Nothing to it but to do it. Now for me, I find, personally, the easiest way to tackle something like this, you can go in with your pinstriping tape and you can start masking out areas and start figuring out where everything is going to line up. What I like to do, and I find it's a true time saver, you may disagree, that's up to you, is I like to mask the entire helmet with masking tape. I know it sounds like a chore, and it kind of is, but in the long run, I find this way saves me a lot more time, because once this whole thing is covered in masking tape, then I can start drawing on it and erasing and get everything plotted where I want it. I see it as a final sort of finished drawing before I ever tackle any artwork. Nothing needs to get changed at that point. You're happy. To mask or not to mask? That is the question. We mask. It is a bit of a chore, so I'm just going to kind of get her done. If there's any information I think I can share with you guys, I'll bring you on in. But for the most part, it's laying tape on a curved surface. So watch those creases. Try to just cut your tape. And when I say cut your tape, pull your tape against. You know what? There is some information. I'm going to bring you guys in. You can see how I do. For a minute or two. Alright. And before we tackle the masking, I like to give the entire surface a thorough cleaning with my Fantastik cleaning / thinning solution. Man, once we got that done, we are ready for the masking tape. Now, I like to start right down the middle and work my way pressing it down as I go, working in all the little creaks and crevices that this helmet has to offer. Trimming it as we go, just keeping it delegated to the surface that we want to paint, with a minimal overlap to reduce the risk of bleed through. Now here is my trimming technique where I just run the blade along the surface of the tape as I'm pulling the tape up against that sharp edge of the blade. This way you're not cutting into the actual helmet, and it gives you some nice relatively straight lines and reduces again that overlap. This is going to help in the drawing process and the cutting process once you start cutting out y'all shapes. And for me, that should get you guys going, but I've got a bit of work to do. So I like to get comfy, do this on the couch, maybe have a nice documentary going in the background where you don't necessarily have to watch, but you can have the brain box filling with some great info. And here we are, guys, the finished product. Now at this point, I like to take my fingernails and chase all these seams and push them down as best as possible. And again, this will reduce any bleed through that might happen once you start applying paint. So again, just taking my fingernails and pushing it down to make sure that that tape is nicely sealed. Next, I slap the visor on there to map it out so that I know where it is for my image. You could do the same. I highly recommend it. And now we are ready to map out a center line on this helmet with your handy tailor's tape. Now, I like to use body lines. I like to use visor holes, vent holes, even the DOT logo, anything that can help you to figure out your middle. And then having 3 hands is always better than 2, so sticking that ruler down with a bit of tape will help you hold it in place as you pen out your center line. And I recommend using pen for this process and then pencil for your drawing process. This way your center line doesn't get erased during your drawing process, and using your tailor's tape to map it all out. But this being Boba Fett and Star Wars, we may as well just use the Force. Oh yeah, it's that easy. Well, it is when you're a Jedi Master. And now you can kind of see how we were playing with that antenna. At this point, we've only done the one side, so we will have to use some tracing paper to transfer onto said blank side. Make sense? I hope that makes sense. And if not, I guess I'll show you. So with some tracing paper, what we like to do is trim it down to the size that we need, laying it down roughly in place, and then with your handy masking tape, tacking it down, making sure that you're going just past your center lines, and then trimming the excess, because any excess material is just gonna hinder you in this tracing process. And in order to get this tracing paper to work over double curves, I find a lot of folding and creasing your paper is necessary, and then in strips, ripping your masking tape to just sort of help to hold it in place, minimalizing how much tape you're actually putting on there, and trying not to go over top of your lines, as it doesn't transfer as easy to the other side, drawing over top of masking tape, as it does just over top of your transfer paper. And as you can see, again, trimming it down, making sure that we are getting this as tight to the surface as possible. Creasing and taping and creasing until you got her all done. And once you got her to this point, you are ready to start your tracing process. I'm sure you guys can figure out tracing, so using the Force, I'm just going to quickly get these lines blasted on here. And as you can see, even my center line to make for ease of transferring. Now, some of this is not going to be exactly symmetrical from side to side, so I just traced what I needed. And I did do the entire back prior, so that didn't need to be transferred at all. But now I see I missed the center line, so I'll quickly pencil that in. Again, just allows for ease of transfer. You don't really need to do much measuring. You just line up your lines and go. Now, I found one of the best ways to do this is to remove your tape and directly apply it to the reverse side of your tracing paper. And this will help aid you in mapping it out on the other side with minimal measuring. Once you've got all the creases reversed with a quick push through, then it's just a matter of lining up your center lines, making sure that everything is in place, and you're ready to trace. Well, transfer trace to be exact. And for this process, I like to use a ballpoint pen. It just rolls a little nicer and allows for a quick and easy transfer of the pencil lines from the other side. Or just use the Force. Voila. And you can peel that off, and you can see for the most part, it gets you everything you need. I got a couple lines that need fixing, and you can go over it and just polish it out and draw what you need. And just to reiterate, for this process, you'll put the pen down and pick up the mechanical pencil. That way you can erase and get it to where you're happy with it. Or, once again, use the Force. And once you got it to this stage, you are ready to start chopping her up with the Xacto knife. And just a handy little trick for some of these straight lines for drafting them out. I do find that using some of the pinstripe tape and just laying it down, tracing it out with your pencil lines gives you some nice straight lines. And you can use it a variety of times. Just stick down, peel it up, stick down, peel it up. Use it to your heart's content. And that should get us going. Like I said, you're going to want to cut these little sections out. Some of this can be done with stencils. Big sections will be cut out, and then you just peel them up and find a safe place to stick them so that you can lay them back down for the next section. Now, a lot of this will be going black in the visor section, and then we've got red going around the outlines, and then we've got some beige and silver inside this shape, and we're going to make it all 3 dimensions, so lots of shading will be done. We'll be cutting and peeling a portion of this in sections, but trying to keep it in big chunks, and we will get to that in the next video once we start laying some shading and some tones to these 3D areas. Then this thing will really start to pop, and you will really get the definition and see what's going on. I know it's a little hard to tell with just the pencil lines. Once we start adding the colors, this thing will sing. And that's how I do, that's how I mask, that's how I draft, that's how I transfer and trace. I hope you can use this info and apply it back at your place. Alright guys, I think we're gonna wrap it up right there. We're gonna break this up into a 2-part series. A lot of information trying to jam pack into these videos. I hope you appreciate it. I hope you learned a little something. And as always, if you have questions, drop it down in the comment section and I will get back to you. But the sun is rising. I think it is time for me to get some sleep. Blah. And until next time, like, follow, subscribe. Thanks for coming along for the ride. Cheers. And feel free to browse the BloodShot Spreadshirt page. Pick yourself up a BloodShot Army uniform. $6 from every purchase sold goes directly into my pocket. And don't forget, guys, we've got the airbrushing hacks, airbrushing for beginners, and plenty of tutorials. Tell the world the BloodShot Army is here to spray. And for your viewing pleasure, here is the behind-the-scenes inner workings of your, in quotations, Jedi Master hard at work. Do enjoy.